Hello, everyone. My name is Dallas, and I'd like to welcome you to today's session. Today, we're going to explore getting ready for Copilot. I do want to let you know that this session is being recorded. And let's just go ahead and jump in. All right, so my name is Dallas. I've been in the IT sector for about 30 years. I'm a senior technology adoption consultant with Change Champions. Before this, I worked for Microsoft and Apple for about 15 years. While I was at Microsoft, I was an enterprise trainer and a customer success manager, helping clients to learn more and adopt everything M365. A quick fun fact about me, my surname used to be Heikkinen. When my son was born, we blended our surnames of Ren and Heikkinen, and my son was the first Reikkinen ever, and then we legally changed our names to match his. Everything went exceptionally well except for my passport. So over the last year, I've been focusing on AI. I have the AI 102 certification, which is currently Microsoft's highest AI specific designation. However, I've continued skilling up in the Azure and Power Platform spaces, which are two more pillars of the AI spaces within Microsoft. I watch and read everything I can get my hands on related to AI. I feel like it's going to touch everything, and I can geek out a little bit in this space. So, Change Champions is a Microsoft partner in the user adoption organization change management space. We partner with organizations to maximize their technology investment and boost their bottom line. Our approach is to offer Microsoft tech or Microsoft expertise, and we are ProSci certified. ProSci is a change management designation, and this all helps our clients to succeed. And we partner with some amazing partners like Brainstorm, Microsoft, and many more. All right, so I do want to let you know that I have about 30 minutes of content that I'll be covering here, and then we have about a 15-minute Q&A. But I will let you know that I will stay as long as needed if you continue to have questions. So what we're going to cover is what is Copilot, some of its requirements, some steps to consider for preparing for Copilot. I want to let you know that this is a safe space to learn more and ask more. We will have that dedicated time towards the end. I will stick around, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of letting everyone get out on time, if you do have questions, pop them into the chat space or hold them till the end where we have our Q&A, and then I'll address them then. And that just means that everyone else can get out in time in about half an hour or so. So let's jump in. Copilot is not a single tool, but it's a series of tools that can be turned on or off across the Microsoft ecosystem in an organization. The list of Copilot companions grows. Some are in preview, others are grouped in a new license that bolts onto and extends E3 or E5 capabilities. I do want to let you know that Copilot is a branding term for Microsoft, and Copilot is being implemented across the board. So again, sometimes you mention Copilot, it's going to be a free tool, and sometimes when you mention Copilot, it's going to be a premium or paid for tool. So just if there's no just to alleviate any concerns there, I do want to let you know that Copilot basically is a grouping of applications or a grouping of services, and some are free and some are paid for. I will be posting some links into the chat space as we go through. So I'm just going to post all of these that will get you a quick start or take you further. Give me a moment. Oh, my computer's thinking about it. Okay, now what is Copilot? On screen, we can see a reference to Copilot in Windows 11. Basically, Copilot's interface will pop up by default in a right-hand rail in some of our favorite Microsoft spaces. Well, if it's been turned on. Anything can be toggled on or off by the user, by the team, or by the organization. From this rail, I can issue simple or complex commands. This is not the only way to interact with Copilot, but this is the method that we'll be covering to get started today. I even want to let you know earlier this week, Microsoft actually announced that all of our new keyboards, or all the new keyboards that you will see that are coming out, will actually have a Copilot button. So you'll be able to hit that Copilot button on your keyboard in order to open up Copilot and start using it. So Microsoft, I think, is all in this Copilot space, and they're empowering us to use this Copilot. If you previously used Cortana, now Cortana was Microsoft's previous AI assistant. This will be somewhat familiar, but it can be enriched to do more and be more. If you've not used Cortana, you can use Copilot to listen verbally or monitor what you're keying into the Copilot space. I do not need to use technical language. I can use real-world language to command it. It will likely know or learn what I'm asking and be able to action it. I can ask Copilot to change the operating system to dark mode, saving my eyes and glares from others while I'm on the airplane. No need to remember where the settings are or the subsettings are anymore. I just ask Copilot for help, and it finds and actions it probably even quicker than if I knew where that setting was in the first place. This saves what I call micro moments. Stack enough micro moments, and I'm getting back the time I need to compose an email and send it before the clock runs out on my workday, freeing me up to jump into my work-life balance on time. Copilot is magical in another way. I can ask it about my data. Users can have access to thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of documents. A user may lose a specific file location easily if it's been weeks or months. We may forget the name of the file, or if it's been shared with us, or where it's located. But if I recall some keywords, I can type those into the search to have Copilot surface everything that matches. I can go from millions to one or two matching files to jump in to consume, use, or share that file or files. I am not spending too much time tracking down lost files. Let Copilot keep everything ready at your fingertips in a moment's notice. Copilot will be your best researcher ever. Copilot is able to see everything you have created or everything that has been shared with you. So I can ask questions of my data. Simple queries or advanced queries that can instantly draw on multiple sources to draw conclusions and form simple answers or complex summaries. Personally, I can be quite wordy, so I might be able to ask Copilot to proof my work, and it will make it more concise. Better yet, once Copilot has earned my trust, Copilot can learn my writing style and match it. I can even ask Copilot to get me started on a new project. I start with a simple or complex question in the Copilot space and ask it to generate the content. Boom. Moments later, I have I get started by reviewing or proofing this content. Now, I'm going to play a little video for you that I think summarizes everything that I talked about there, but to reinforce that, I'm just going to hit play, and this is like a minute and a half video.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of three foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. The Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar. And a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text, all accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app. Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph. responsible AI checks, security, compliance, and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty cool, and I think they explain it very simply. But this is a very advanced process, but it's all being handled behind the scenes. But I think that is a very cool way of looking at your data and being able to source your data and query your data. Now, if you or your organization are lucky enough to have Copilot, it may feel overwhelming. It may feel like it's replacing you. I understand many people fearing displacement from AI. It is not designed to replace you. It is your most useful co-pilot. You are still in the captain's seat. You ask it to do as little or as much as you need, perhaps nothing. However, it can be used to give us a quick start or push us along, or I may be able to use it to proof and rewrite my work or my contribution. You may ask Copilot to research, create, analyze, and proof. By default, it draws on all the data you have access to in your organization. I will always have the responsibility to validate what it finds or uses. I am the captain in this co-creation. I'm responsible for publishing what we create together. Copilot is a license that is bolted onto existing E3 or E5 licenses. Copilot is from $30 US per user per month, and an organization requires to license 300 seats of Copilot. Each user will need an Entra or Azure Active Directory account. The Active Directory account, if you're not familiar, has been now changed to Entra, a branding change there. To access the desktop apps, users will need to be enrolled in the current or monthly enterprise channel of the M365 apps. The M365 product range needs to be deployed to take advantage of Copilot functions. I'm just going to copy another link here and post it into the chat space. Again, these links are just intended to get you started or take you further. Copilot does not create data leaks, but it can expose them. Because it can process all the data you have access to, it can surface up confidential or private data in its solution. An organization has to look at the mechanisms it has in place to protect data that is used by adopting Copilot. I may have legitimate access to confidential data, but the data may not be company or public facing. If the document I create from Copilot is intended for a larger audience whom do not have the same permissions, I may unwittingly disclose information that is intended to the wrong audience, creating a breach. Users should be trained to filter content based on audiences. An organization may consider private libraries that are not targeted by Copilot search. You may apply sensitivity labels where Copilot can ignore specific labels. You can move away from duplicates and creating version copies and start using version history, maintaining a single source of truth. And that helps you to avoid referencing out-of-date information in older or incorrect versions. Maintain transient and official library spaces. Label versions for retention and disposition. You set it and forget it. And have Copilot ignore it unless designated specifically to target it. So many things can be done to safeguard your data, need to be done to safeguard your data. Consider how to identify and remove orphaned content. Determine who creates and manages transient and official libraries. I will post a Microsoft 365 endpoint taxonomy link into the chat space here in a few moments. Once you've reviewed and set your data policies going forward, You will need to spend some significant time to update and enforce historical data so it can be safely surfaced or ignored in search. Microsoft has made getting started really, really easy with Copilot with the Copilot for M365 report. I will post a link in the chat space about that as well. You may want to consider a QoS, a quality of service assessment that will look at your traffic. If users start using Copilot, I would expect increased traffic. Consider a network assessment. If your organization presents at scale, ECDN and Teams Premium may be a consideration to evaluate at this time as well. Now let me just grab these links and post them into the space. Oh, my mouse is fighting me today. So get your security rails in place. You must consider your intended audience. Excuse me. Sorry about that. You must consider your intended audience. Does your audience have access or privilege to the same content as the author? Is my co-author representing private or confidential information to my audience? I may have to carve out this data if I'm sharing it with a larger audience who does not share that same access. You should not be alone with Copilot. People in your organization can help to put up and maintain guardrails to help protect confidential data from being referenced in Copilot. Permissions, access, labels are some keys to protecting elements that won't be referenced, protecting you and your organization from exposure. Copilot can reference everything you have access to. It can surface up more than I might have looked for on my own. It needs to be proofed. I may be drawing references from out-of-date figures, which you may be able to catch and reshape together with Copilot. It may capture incorrect estimates from a forgotten transient document that was never official or signed off on. If I have access to confidential data, excuse me, it may capture or reference this data in whole or in part. I or my organization need to verify or remove and shield any reference to private or confidential information when using AI. Explore and implement personas that make sense and provide just-in-time access. Largely, we want to provide enough access for people to do their jobs without giving users more access to data or resources. Applied personas with just-in-time access will protect your data further. Depending on your license, Microsoft has thought of most everything. Purview is a compliance suite included with E5 licensing. If you have E3, you can add Purview to your licensing. However, some features are exclusive to an E5 user. Purview can help with retention and disposition, sensitivity labels to protect data, and information barriers, which can block sharing between specific users or teams. Let's explore a quick example. Let's say no one can see the R&D team schematics unless you're part of the R&D team or leadership team. I think you get the idea. Information barriers can be used to silo users or departments from other departments, so there's no chance of a leak there as well. So there's lots of tools available. Now, I'm just going to go grab a bunch more links. Give me a moment. Lots and lots of links for you today. Now, Copilot is an M365. I just wanted to show a quick example of what it would look like in PowerPoint. So by default, it pops up this right-hand rail, and you'll have Copilot there. And in PowerPoint, I can actually use Copilot to create I can actually just ask it to create me a PowerPoint based on a specific template or to create me a PowerPoint based on some specific information. So I can have it go collect that for me, and it can actually get me my fantastic foundational start where it will actually grab me all the information I need, and then I just can curate those slides, and I can even have it have the AI layer in the colors of my organization and do all of that kind of stuff. For the most part, it's just going to do it on its own, but then I'll have full control to tweak it or manage it. I can use it to edit my PowerPoint, add animations, everything else like that. I can ask it to understand my data so I can actually then further interpret my data or shape that data so I can control what's being presented and I can shape that conversation. And I can even ask it questions, comments, concerns. If I don't know how to alpha key, remove the background, I could ask it to remove the background of an image so it would sit over my background. This is what Copilot can look like in M365 Excel. Again, it pops up in the right-hand rail. A little bit different. I can use it to create information. So I can say, please create me an Excel spreadsheet based on the FY 2022, 2023, and 2024 figures. So I'm actually creating a new report that's never been applied before over the last 3 years. So it will actually give me 3 years of figures that I can actually then start trending on. I can actually use it to edit. So again, I can actually use it to say, can you summarize column E? And it will actually do that for me. So instead of me manually doing it, I can actually voice command or type that command into that side rail and it will do it for me. So I'm probably going to start tapping features or functions I normally wouldn't use or didn't even know existed because I'm just asking it for things and it's actually able to execute those. I can also use AI to further understand my Excel data. I can actually have it it's going to see data better than I do. So it's going to be able to look at these large data sets and extract information from that, extract insights from that, so I can see them or I can present them to other people to actually, again, shape that conversation and win over that conversation with my colleagues because I have the data to support that. Now this one slightly looks different. I can have it in the right-hand rail, but this one's just popping up in the middle, but they all work the same. I can use it to get started, to create. I can use it to edit my document. I can say, can you please proof my document? Can you please look for geo references or anything else like that? I can actually say it and it will look for it. I can get caught up on what changes have happened. And again, I can ask it or give it commands on the data that it's using. I can even ask it, say, hey, write me a summary of the FY 22, 23, 24 report, and it will actually reference those and write me a summary that I can then proof, finalize, and likely use. So I trust you've been hearing about Chat GPT, Copilot, even before today. These are all very exciting. Copilot is an extension of E3 or E5 licensing, and an organization needs to buy at least 300 seats of Copilot. Most organizations will not meet this buying requirement for Copilot. Many people are focusing on the new and shiny conversation of Copilot. Something not as new, but just as shiny is the creation of solutions in Power Platform and Azure, including the creation of AI-driven conversational bots. You've been able to do this for years within the Microsoft Azure, Dynamics, Power Platform, and M365 spaces. What I love, sorry, what I love about these solutions is any organization of any size can quickly build a tailored solution without a seat requirement. No matter the size of your organization, you do not need to be left behind in the AI race with your competition. AI is a strategic advantage, and we all need to investigate it further. If you are fortunate enough to fit the requirements for Copilot, you may also then look at Power Platform for tailored solutions. I do want to let you know Copilot is shiny, it's brilliant, it's new, it's fantastic, but it's not the only solution within even the Microsoft family. So I would encourage you, if you're looking at Copilot, to also look at the Azure space, the dynamic space, building your own bot space. You may be able to build even better tailored tools using those, and you can actually build them very, very quickly. I can literally build an app within 30 minutes to an hour. You need to monitor Message Center in the admin portal for planned releases and release dates for your organization. You will likely want to commit a person or a team to connect and stay atop of the Microsoft spaces that you invest or plan to invest in. In some cases, you may be glancing months or a year ahead of planned changes, but staying on top of these changes may allow you to delay current investments, knowing that a built-in solution is available or coming soon. Sorry. You do not want negative disruption. When a feature is sunset or arises instantly across your organization, you need forewarning of that impact. You need to understand you need to understand how it impacts your organization. What training or tools need to companion the release? You need time to see if that feature can be turned off or how it can be turned off, or if it's turned off, how that's going to impact the user experience. Consider consider where possible deployment rings, controlling who gets an early release, testing the feature against legacy systems and how it is best adopted internally. Champions are a key group to help the adoption effectively to change. Few people lean into change. You need to show them what's in it for them. You need to run a pilot, iron out and streamline processes before you largely deploy. Deploy and adopt in small waves to help make it a positive experience. Use your champions to test and drive change. Look to gamify change. Personally, I love the Champion Management Platform app. That is a free tool from Microsoft on GitHub, and it helps you to build a space to run waves of people through to become champions and have a whole organization upskill in a new area or new skill. Not just here, but anything, Microsoft or non-Microsoft related. I'm going to pop some links into the chat space there. I do want to let you know we're going to be wrapping up here really soon. Now, there is some contact details I'll pop into the chat space there. If you have your smartphone handy, you can grab that QR code. So please get in touch if you have any questions or would like to learn more about Microsoft adoption services. We'd love to set up a call to understand your priorities and discuss how we may be able to help. Trusting you got something from today's session. If you have no questions, comments, concerns, we are going to start wrapping up and enter our formal Q&A. I will let you know before we do, I am going to turn off the recording so people can come off mic or type anything into the chat space if you do have any questions, comments, concerns. So let me go ahead and turn off the recording. Give me a moment. Okay, so I'll check the chat space to see if there were any questions there, but anyone that's brave enough is welcome to come off camera there, or come off mic there if you have any questions for us. So there was a question in there about, can you provide a list of Copilot features that are free to use? So largely the difference between the So do you know that Microsoft is using the term Copilot across the board to talk about anything related to AI? And Microsoft has been adopting AI for like a decade. And AI is actually being built into Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. It's been built into Edge. It's been built into all of these spaces. Those are going to continue to be free, but they're going to be reframed from, they used to be called Cortana, and now those are going to be called Copilot. So those are the free features. The ones that you're actually going to pay for are the ones where you're actually targeting company data. So if you want to actually have your Copilot target your organization's data, that's where you're talking about the extension of the E3, E5 license. And that's where a lot of this today's conversation tied into. But I do want to let you know all the Copilot features or all the AI features that you had before have been rebranded and are continue to be included in your current license or are free. And largely the ones that are being paid for as a premium are where you're targeting data within your organization. I do trust that answers your question there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or a follow-up on that, please let me know. I'm just scanning to see if there were any other questions in the chat space there. And feel free to pop in if you are there.
Hey Dallas, excellent presentation so far here. I just had a quick question. You mentioned Windows 11 earlier. Is Windows 11 a requirement to use these features, or is that just to help you with like the Windows side of Copilot?
Windows 11 is not required, but a great leading question for that is if you're not aware, Windows 10 is being sunset next year. So Windows 11 is not required for this. It will work in Windows 10, but the other consideration is Windows 11 should start becoming a conversation for your organization because Windows 10 is being sunset.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dallas. Amazing session as always. This is Mohammed here. I got a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Please.
I can see a lot of colleagues in Microsoft. They got the Copilot for M365 Achiever Fundamental. Do you have to be in Microsoft to achieve that fundamental badge? Just to understand first, or not?
So I don't believe that one actually requires that you have to be in Microsoft to get that one. Have you searched for that on Microsoft Learn at this point?
I did. It says, let me give you a screenshot here. It says you have to do some attending and so, but I tried to search for it. I'm not sure what am I missing, but I'll keep digging, I guess. Um,
So some of these I don't have this one, but have another one.
okay,
Largely where these ones are for Copilot is you're actually having to attend a launch event
okay,
or consume that. So they say the launch event, but sometimes when you watch that event um, post event, then they will actually go through and they'll actually then unlock that and send you the badge on Credly. Um,
okay, okay,
so that is what as soon as I saw this one, it says attend the M365 Copilot Solution Play starter track. So you need to track down that content and
mm,
register for it and then consume that one. And then
okay,
that's your first hurdle. And then there's the second one there, the Rockstar track. So, and you can see it even says the content on demand. So if you track down those two pieces of content, you watch them, you
okay,
register for them, you watch them, and basically make sure you use the same account you use for Credly. And basically, in my experience, anywhere between a week to 10 days later, that certification will show up in Credly for you to show off.
okay, okay, perfect. And my understanding is that Copilot is an add-on for enterprise right now.
So right now, the buy-in requirement. So again, there's two. It's kind of poor because they're using Copilot for two camps: a free camp,
Mm,
which we've always had, and this new camp. And that Copilot, the new camp, where you're actually having it search through all of the data that you have access to, everything that you've created or that's been shared with you. That is an extension of E3 or E5, so it is
mm,
definitely an enterprise license, and it does require 300 seats to be purchased on top of E3 or E5. So that's what I was saying. Lots of people do not have most organizations don't have 300 people to allot there. So that's where you can look at the other solutions that Microsoft has to offer that don't have seat requirements. And that
Mm,
is the Azure space, the Dynamic space, the M365 space. Right in Microsoft right now, you can actually build apps literally within 45 minutes to an hour, and you can actually build your own bots. And you can personalize and customize them to suit you, rather than using the cookie cutter turnkey solution of Copilot. You can actually design your own solutions. So if you don't have the 300 seat requirement, definitely look at the Azure Dynamics M365 spaces. There's lots of tools there that have been around for years, where that's actually where a lot of the inspiration came for Copilot, from these tools that you were able to use before, and they don't have any seat requirements or very few seat requirements.
perfect, perfect. Thank you, those. So I guess if I'm a small company that have business premium and I'm excited about the Copilot, maybe to try to add on, it's not possible at the moment.
Not whatsoever.
Not so.
So right now E3, E5 plus the 300 seats.
300 seats.
So,
Okay.
but again, AI is so fundamentally important. You can't be left behind. So that's where you want to look at the AI space there. So if you go that Microsoft Learn and look
Mm,
up the AI 102, that's a certification that you can actually earn for like $190. Like you challenge exam for, I think it's $190 US, but that will actually give you a foundational in there, or the Power Platform. So there's different levels of Power Platform certifications or Azure certifications, and that will give you a foundation where you can actually replicate Copilot internally yourself once you understand how those tools interact and what those tools are. And you can actually build them quite quickly without any coding capabilities.
thank you, those. Last question,
Sure.
and I'll leave you alone, I promise. I
We're here to answer, so please.
thank you, thank you. That was an amazing session, to be honest, as always. I'm trying to find the best kind of links to get questions to practice exam. I'm trying to search. I got the something certification library, practice tests, free practice tests. If you have any kind of recommendation to achieve some of your certificates, like some of the best training ways, the best practice kind of ways that you do yourself, that would be really helpful, to be honest with you, to achieve those.
Okay, so with most of my exams, I scored 80s and 90s. And basically what I did is I used the Microsoft Learn to actually, and I actually had the computer read it to me while I was working. So I just had Edge read it aloud, and it read it aloud while I was actually multitasking and working. So that was my initial learning, was to my knowledge drop there. And then I also got to post those on LinkedIn to show that I was actually learning. Then there's two things that I've done. Exam Topics is the bank that I use, and I've typically paid for Exam Topics to give me access to 300 exam questions that I can actually study up on, to make sure that I'm prepared for. So I've used the Exam Topics. The other thing is, there are partners out there that do dedicated learning sessions. They're not inexpensive, but it's about anywhere from 500 to $4,000. But they run a 1 day, they run a 1 week session where they cover all of the content in a classroom setting, either in person or remotely. So there are lots of Microsoft partners that are dedicated to the learning space that can help you with that. But there's also companies like Brainstorm. If you're not using Brainstorm, Brainstorm is a really, it's one of our partners, and Brainstorm actually, they study everything Microsoft 365 and put it at your fingertips, so you can actually ask about it. And they've actually committed to actually doing more for the Copilot space. So there's lots of ways to learn and develop. There's lab work and stuff like that. But I would say I was able to challenge exams every 6 weeks or so. So last year I got 4 certifications, and I did miss out one just before Christmas. You need 700 points to pass, and I got 690 on my expert level of Power Platform. So I literally missed out by passing by one question, maybe two questions.
Thank you, Dallas. Thanks so much. That's
No
more than enough.
worries. Marlio,
Yeah. Thanks, Dallas. Amazing presentation. Quick question about data store on other solutions outside of Microsoft environment. Can Copilot consume and leverage organization data when it's stored in ERP solutions such as SAP or Oracle NetSuite, and also in older Microsoft platforms such as SharePoint? I mean, does it have out-of-box solutions to access that data, or will we need to build integrations and customizations to unlock all the capabilities?
great question. Now, first off, SharePoint. So this is mostly online, or you have to make your data or expose it to online. So if you're on-prem, right now there are so just to let you know, there are over 400 tools in the Azure space. Some of those are data storage, some of those are computes, and some of those are actually connections. And you can actually build custom connections. Now, out of the box, it's going to do SharePoint, or you can actually design it to do SharePoint, and it can do SQL. But I do want to let you know, all the other spaces that you mentioned, there are likely tools that are already there that you can actually implement and put into place. So it really comes down to, excuse me, I think it really comes down to looking at a case by case of where your data is at. And that's one that if you're going to look at using Copilot, it does have to be online or surfaceable online. So that's a great question, because then you're going to have to say, maybe we move to on-prem, maybe we move to hybrid, maybe we don't and we stay on-prem, but we have to expose certain information to be available online. So there's far too many tools and far too many solutions for me to do it justice in a few minutes here. But I will let you know there are all sorts of solutions to connect to all of your existing solutions, or likely to all your existing solutions, whether it's something you create, or in most cases it's already been created and you can actually just apply it. But then you're really looking at the Azure space and perhaps the dynamic space. If you have specific questions about one or two of those, I'd be willing to address those, but just know that there's all sorts of connections, and there's so many ways to very quickly and readily get your data to be Copilot ready.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for clarification. Yeah.
All good. So yes, Copilot for there was a question in the chat space there. So recently, like last week, so about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, Edge actually got chat. So that was actually Microsoft's version of ChatGPT that they put into Edge, and that allowed you to search the internet, sourcing all references and pulling it together and allowing it to even draw you summaries and everything else. And that was what was reported in the news over the last year. So Microsoft put their version into Edge there, and just last week they actually rebranded that to Copilot. So that is actually free. So again, this is a bit poor. Just know that almost everything is going to be rebranded Copilot. Anything that was AI specific for the last 10 years is being rebranded to Copilot. So that is free. Really, how to break it down simply is to say anything that was AI that I had before is just going to be rebranded Copilot. But now if I want Copilot to target data, be it my data, my on-prem data, whatever it might be, if I want it to target that data and draw conclusions from my data, then it's going to be the paid premium Copilot conversation on as an add-on to E3 and E5. But yeah, I kind of wish that they would have named them differently so there was more difference, but they are blurring the lines there, and the lion's share of it is actually free. But then that last extension where you want to actually target data and render data, ask it about your data, that is the part that's actually the enterprise license, E3, E5, 300 plus seats. I hope that verified your question, Amir.
Yes, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions, comments, concerns whatsoever? I'll tell you what, if you don't have any other questions, comments, I'm going to stick around for as long as needed. But if you have no questions, comments, concerns, you're welcome to sign off. And I'm going to be the last one to sign off once I see everyone else drops off. But if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to stick around. And Mohammed, if you do have any other questions, please let me know. Darlene, Mohammed, do you guys have any other questions? Oh, thank you, Mohammed. All right, well, thank you, everyone, and Happy New Year. Darlene, I just wanted to make, okay.